The joke would be on us, the people, if the person who owns that complex or company that owns that complex also owns the plot of land the Renaissance is happening on. And they just don't want you parking over there and they getting kickback from the other.
Bro, they're just profiting regardless.
I would not be surprised.
No, I can see that. I can see that. Especially like a type of tycoon person be like, oh yeah, I did buy that McDonald's franchise. Well, then why didn't you just let the park there? Nah, they wouldn't get McDonald's.
Where we at again?
What episode is this?
That is a good question. That is an amazing question. I don't know. Episode 15, 13 something.
Right.
I don't know.
13 something.
Season 2 something. Season 2 something.
What type of, elevator, situations, have you been involved in?
That's next episode. No, real talk though. I've had somebody walk straight in and fart. And then turn around and try to start a conversation with me. I was like, nah.
No.
Roll that back. Suck that air right back in that booty hole.
No.
You're
not about to say that. And then that's disrespectful on two fronts. Because first of all, you go and fart in a public spot. You could have did that outside before you walked in and tried to woof it out. No. And then you go and try to get me to open my mouth by trying to convince me to talk and breathe that nasty gas.
Hear me out. Insult to injury. I've literally walked into an elevator smelling like eggs and literally like somebody needed, like, I think somebody soiled themselves.
Like it's bad.
And when the doors opened, they walked out, looked at me, and just kept walking. And so when I walked in, that's when I was like, eyes watering and everything, bro. It was a napalm. That's what it was.
Photographing me like I'm hunting this man down,
bro. I know what unit he was. I could have done more damage.
He's like, I could have actually found you.
I could have figured this out.
My worst situation was it was crazy. It was crazy because everybody farts, right? But someone farted outside the elevator and then walked in. And the only reason I kind of give them a pass because they, like, you can see them try to fan it out before they walked in.
That's even worse.
And then they walked in and it came with them right before it closed. And I was like,
pants.
And I'm just like, I couldn't make eye contact. It was most uncomfortable. It was the longest elevator ride of my life. Longest.
They knew what they did. People who fart on an elevator is the devil. Honestly. Why are you doing that? Stop.
Disrespectful.
You could have done it in the hallway. Come on now. Y'all, welcome back to Chocolate Espresso Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas. Reflect Your Fancy. We got my boy over here,
King Dez. What's up?
Yeah, we I got an article here. We're gonna talk about this. I don't know about y'all, but have you been to the Renaissance Festival before?
I haven't. I want to go because I feel like I'm in my fantasy phase where I would really love to dress up and make myself a little dusty, tarnished, and walk around. But I've never been. I want to go.
Oh God. Okay.
Have you been?
I've never gone. My company gives out tickets though and discounts for them. So I mean, if I wanted to, it could have, but I don't. Some of my close friends do go. They get huge turkey legs. I don't understand the whole purpose of the whole turkey legs. I don't know. Don't even look like turkey at that point if they're that large. Like what
they
turkey
look like
is
mallets.
that big? Yeah, they wild. So the article's headline from KTV, which is in Las Vegas. This is about the Renaissance in Las Vegas. Why so many cars are getting towed? Renaissance Festival attendees left frustrated. And I'll give you a little synopsis, but I'll start quoting people's complaints because this is, to me, hilarious. It's so sad trying to make money off people that come to have fun. It's just so sad to see that. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this person's name. Allegedly, people are parking at a parking lot at a strip mall, and there are small little tow signs. They're not the world's biggest ones. Usually, how when you driving around, there's an event nearby. companies will put out big enough signs that will say like no event parking, you know,
no parking here,
or whatever, you know,
customers only, whatever.
Nope. They got the regular little, you know, signs that tell you what
the 6-inch.
Yeah, the little small little the only signage they are legally obligated to put, so you understand that hey, your car will be towed if you are not a customer of this property, and this is the tow company and how to contact them. For, you know, fair game, most states in cities require that if there is a towing contract for a company, that they are required to put the company's name, location, and phone number there.
Yep.
Because
you got to be able to get your car.
Mm-hmm. At least know who stole your car, because that's that's the thing. And to be fair, I cracked a joke. My motorcycle took a dump on me because apparently I put a nail through the rear tire and was like, oh, why is there so much drag? Anyway, so I got towing insurance. It was free. You know, whoop-de-doo. I thought maybe I just needed some air. Maybe I could just limp it back to the house. No. The moment I put air in there, I heard it go right back out. So anyway, long story short, the tow truck came after like 4.5 hours, right? And at that point, I've already made it home, which is, I'm an adult. I'm not going to sit around waiting for a tow truck guy. And I was chit-chatting with the tow truck guy, and when he left, I told him a joke before he was leaving. And I said, you know, what do cops and tow truck drivers got in common? And he said, what? And I said, nobody wants them until they need them. That's exactly the only two things y'all bastards got in common. I don't want nothing to do with you people whatsoever. And the one time I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna try to limp this motorcycle like 4.5 miles to
let me call
anybody's house. I'm gonna call the tow truck. I asked you to pull me over. You decided to pull me over. You see what I'm saying? Nobody wants you to. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. So essentially, what ended up happening was, and I quote again. They knew that the fair was happening, and they targeted that area knowing there was no signage except the one sign off the entrance of the Eastern and Sunset, said Dennis. So there is more than one signage. It's just the one small little sign that they put at one of the entrances was there.
Covered the whole lot.
The whole lot. So
whole lot.
Let me ask you. So I got a question. What happens
if you entered, because you said the side, like the east side or whatever, the eastern, what if somebody entered from the west and the side wasn't there?
That's what their complaint was. Maybe they claimed they came in from a different direction and whatever. Apparently they're towing up to like 23 cars a day. Allegedly 23 cars. So they claim. And this was when the news anchor interviewed one of the tow truck drivers as they were actively stealing someone's car. He claimed that they were towing up around that number, so as he was actively stealing another person's car. But that being said,
in the middle of it,
I got a question for you though. So if there is an event happening, should the event center make it or the event planners make it possible and accessible for you to know where you could feasibly park your vehicle? Like, let's say if you go online, like maybe, I don't know, like the Target Field or the Viking Stadium, you should be able to go on their website. And do you think they should, like, one of the first things they can say is like, per the calendar, here are the games and here is available parking for you? Should that be the event planner's responsibility? Are you asking for too much?
I just, because as a courtesy, yeah. Whenever you have a major, like, it's one thing if it's like a small event. It's like use public parking. Like, just go a block to 2 down the street, park your car.
But that's not fair either, because some cities say there is no event. There's public parking, but there's no event public parking.
Right.
Like, they know you can't park here if you're gonna be on. How can you tell? You know, like, you got snitches in the neighborhood. Like,
Minneapolis is a prime example of that one, right?
You know what I'm saying?
But I feel like the event planner should be a part of it. Like, how are people going to get there? Like, I mean, everybody can't ride the bus. If you have thousands, because from what I know, the Renaissance has thousands of people that go.
At least in Minnesota.
Right.
I don't know about Las Vegas, but it sounds like if they getting 23 hoes a day, you at least got to have at least a couple of hundred.
Exactly. So like, I feel like, because I've been in a situation where my anime conventions, they will actually have like, cool, it's held here at this exact location. These are the people that have partnered with us for parking. That way it's still profitable for them. These are the people where there's free public parking, and this is the area for public parking for everybody to use. And so like, it just seems to me like it makes, when it's an important enough event, it just makes common sense to do that. It's like, why Why would I have a big, like even stadiums, right? When you have the stadiums that get filled with thousands of people, they have parking. And sometimes they even, was it Target Field, I think? They even got some of the neighboring parking spots to open up their spot just to make sure they had enough parking spots. So it's just like... But then if you don't give, like, come on, how does that work? Like, if they don't give one, your only object is to use the best information you have, which is going to be public parking or the next closest thing. That's just common sense. I mean,
okay, let me read you another passage. When you know there's an event, there should be some kind of tape. My kid actually ate at that McDonald's in the parking lot, which is still the same parking complex. How do you justify that? Only when during the Renaissance they tow when they suspect you are not a customer of this complex. Even though, now that's the end of the quote, but I just want to know, okay, did he eat at the McDonald's and then go to the Renaissance? Like, how long are you going to be I mean, at that point, you're no longer a customer.
Right.
You know,
right.
like, you can't.
But then also that's weird because it's kind of that gray area where, you know, he was a customer, right? So, like,
word. That's
right.
I mean, like, okay, so you can't, like, that's like going into McDonald's asking for a water cup and then they charge you I don't know what, 50 cents or 25 cents for the cup.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can't just leave your car there all day. Like, you're not buying a cup of water every freaking hour. Like, come on now.
And I mean, I get that. But I'm definitely the type that'd be like, you know, if it's right there, like if it's across the street, I'm like,
bruh, I'm telling you. You know what though? Like, okay, I get it. Don't get me wrong, I get it, right? Like, it's parking, but it's still a private property. You know,
technically it's a commercial, so it's private property.
Now, the joke would be on us, the people, if the person who owns that complex or company that owns that complex also owns the plot of land the Renaissance is happening on, and they just don't want you parking over there and they getting kickback from the other.
Bro, they're just profiting regardless.
I would not be surprised.
No, I can see that. Especially like a type of tycoon person be like, oh yeah, I did buy that McDonald's franchise. Well, then why didn't you just let the park there? Nah, they wouldn't get McDonald's.
They ain't going there and buy money. Like, come on now.
They ain't singing I'm loving it. I ain't about to deal with them.
That's crazy. You know what though? But that brought up the bigger conversation about that. Like, does the event planners need to make sure there's enough parking available for the people
for the
who are
assumed
coming?
or the approximate amount of people, which would probably be based off of historical statistics. My thing is, what happens in those situations? Because the reason why events happen in cities is because they're considered, like, that's the environment that they're for. Entertainment and commercial property is made for people to go there, like not stay there, but they are meant to have business and events and host stuff there and have parades there. That's why they're like literally coded and designed.
Except for some football stadiums that are like literally 30, 40 minutes away from the inner city. Like, but the land was cheap. So,
so they were like, all right, we're going to move it down here. But then what happens when it's like, okay, cool, you have an event. You done bought out the revenue, because then what am I paying for? But then you done bought out the revenue, and then it's like, cool, this is a big thing. Everybody wants to come to it. They're projecting half of the max, which is 100,000. So they're expecting 50,000 people or roughly around to be stopping by and seeing this weekend. Mm-hmm. And it's like, people don't come because there ain't no parking. Like,
but think about the Minnesota State Fair, or really any state fair that has at least 100,000 people.
And Minnesota definitely has.
There's nothing like we got.
I would be surprised if there's
infrastructure. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got the public parking ramps, which are completely vacant for the most part nowadays. Like, I've actively watched them build one in Roseville, Minnesota, not too long ago. And years ago, I mean, there was like scattered vehicles in the ramp, you know. I mean, it was 30% occupied. Now it's like literally 6 to 7 cars max in this huge ramp. And I'm like, what a waste of infrastructure. They could have built another apartment complex, a condo
Rosedale
right
Mall's
there.
like that too now.
It's a joke. It's like empty stuff. Anyway,
And it's tons. It's a lot
of vacant parking spots. And then like the only few times they're ever going to be packed is like literally Black Friday, maybe some Christmas stuff. Rarely 4th of July weekend. I don't know. Like there has to be a big enough sale for enough people to come.
There's probably like something happening around that time to make it also,
which is typically nothing's really happening.
No.
Anyway, you get the point, right? But like I said, like when like the Minnesota State Fair happens, right? There's contracts. There's like they tell
busing,
you
right?
There's busing, coach buses and stuff like that. There are literal buses that will drive you all the way from St. Cloud down here to go to the State Fair. If that, like the Renaissance, typically everywhere for the most part tends to be big enough where I don't see why they don't utilize these kind of infrastructure. I mean, again, I'm not in Las Vegas. I've never been.
Right.
So I don't know if these things exist. However, there's no way there ain't enough parking somewhere for you guys to contract out and just get a coach bus and say, hey, this bus runs every 30 minutes.
But also when it comes to also like when you're thinking about inner city, like to add on to your point, is like they're designed for that. Like the city part, I understand when the country doesn't have it. I understand when the rural resident side is like, no, we got 150 parking spots because we have 100 tenants and 50 staff. Like, you know, like that makes sense. But it's like the inner city though, where millions of people are supposed to come, especially if you're a travel destination. I just don't understand how that's not.
Yeah.
That like you said, I don't understand where's the spots at. Who's using up all these spots?
And it's Las Vegas. How many bodies you guys have coming and going out of that
throughout
city?
the year? Like just constantly.
Come on.
Forget a year. Throughout a weekend.
Come on, they could have figured this out. And this is why I saw the article and I'm like, oh, people still in cars, and tow truck companies are still in cars. People are complaining about it.
They're definitely using that for profit.
But you know what? I said this once before, years ago, when I was in a youth bike summit, and the guy came and he was saying it's not the city's. It shouldn't be the city's responsibility to make sure that you have a place to park your private property, where you park your car. It's not the city's responsibility to take care of that. Frankly, the city shouldn't do anything to make sure that you can park your expensive, nice little toy. The city's responsibility to make sure that it's catering to the people and a healthy practice. We should delegate infrastructure and time towards that, and I think our population would be happier. In other words, it was literally about bicycles and stuff like that, but in the sense of the word, the guy wasn't wrong.
Right, that makes sense.
Why are we, like, how much other space could we delegate towards actually healthier practices? Like, we could shut down a lot of streets, get rid of the parking, and just make it more accessible and encourage, pedestrians. Like, hey, we'll take off like 2% of taxes if you actively are biking, and you can put trackers on bicycles. Now, again, you're giving away privacy when they track you like that, but if it's literally you going from your house, which guess what, the government knows where you live, you have an ID, right? And you're going to work, guess what? Your government already knows where you work because you pay your taxes, right?
Right.
You're not giving much if you're just biking from point A to point B, and if you don't care for it, then fine, you don't have to do it, but just know you can just take public transportation, which is still more environmentally friendly, and you go that route. Now, I'm not advocating for the world's most, greenhouse whatever. I'm just saying, if public buses were operating every 15 minutes and the trains were cleaner and more safer when you had more police patrol or public service,
I feel like people wouldn't have a problem, like you said, if things are kept up to a certain standard, right? If they were kept up to the standard that they were advertised,
and maybe you would get your car stolen from the parking lot when you want to go to an event.
Probably won't have to worry about the Kia boys, right? So, like, I feel like, because I remember when we had a Vikings game and our freaking subway was recently built, and I remember that thing was packed. It was stuffed, and that was Vikings fans alone. Like, they all just had the jersey, and like it was like, okay, cool, that is actually possible, right? And that is doable. So when all that stuff is running smoothly, I don't really see the population would use it. Let's go here, park on the side street on the side of the suburbs, walk about 5 blocks, hop on the city train, roll over there, But then also, I mean, I guess to combat that, St. Paul has a lot of just public parking dedicated to transit. Like, you can park your car and get directly on the transit.
The Twin Cities, really, the Twin Cities and the surrounding cities like Plymouth and whatever, anything within 20 to 30 minutes without traffic is reasonable. The Twin Cities in 20 minutes in a directional area has a lot of dedicated parking for public transportation into the inner city, which is why they're also trying to build a new rail line, which they approved, which a lot of people hated the idea of, because that money could go towards something else.
a lot of other things. We've made an entire petition about 10 other things, 10 big other things we could have did
with that money.
They had a whole board meeting about that.
You know what though? I'll leave it here. Hashtag vote, and 2,
and not just every 4 years, 2 years too.
Every 2 years, for your vote every 2 years
for your senators, your congressmen, your mayors, your governors, all of them.
Yeah, but the second thing, and I'll leave it there. How many people are actually taking advantage of that infrastructure? Not, and I'm telling you now, it's not many. It's really not. Cars are, I used to say cars were cheap, so that's why people had them, and then gas got a little more expensive. Cars are a little bit more expensive, but for public transportation as a whole, I mean, there's a meme out there, right? When Japan, the trains are 30 seconds late, they all bow and say, I'm sorry, right? In India, when the train's on time, they pack it full, and when you can't get on, it's, oh, well, that's your fault, right? In the U.S., when the train shows up 5 minutes within the delegated time, everybody's just happy that they somewhat on time. Right? We don't expect the train to show up when it says it's going to show up. We don't expect the bus to show up when we thought it was going to show up. We just, hey, you deal with it. And Minnesota for the longest.
Whenever you travel in Metro Transit, you are at behest of the transit.
You're at behest of the bus and train driver. Boy, I guarantee, I know for a fact there's been some drivers that must have just pulled over somewhere and just went to the bathroom. There ain't no way they held it. There ain't no way they've been held in it.
I'm sure.
Probably farting on top of the seat, ruining whoever sat behind them. Anyway. But y'all get the point though, right? Like I stand firm with also what that guy said many years ago, where it's not the city's responsibility to make sure you have somewhere to park your private property. I mean, it's really not. It's convenient, and they can make money off of that for sure, right? Maybe.
Right. Well, yeah, the reason why they definitely do that is because the person with the car and the nice little private property gives an indication to what they have accessible to them financially to spend. If somebody pulls up with a Porsche and you're going into Ashley's Furniture, and somebody pulls up with a broke down, town and country, you know what I'm saying? There's going to be one that you won't walking in that store by default, typically. Even though they will say they'll greet both of you. They'll just expect one of you to pay for sure before you leave.
Somebody's going to have to pay before you lay. I don't know. It's kind of frustrating, like I said, when you drive around and you see vacant infrastructures that were delegated towards literally making sure people had places to park the vehicle. And
exactly. I mean, if the cities really operated the way that they were supposed to operate, I think a lot more people would be happy about them. A lot more people would love cities. You actually have the police patrolling to protect the inner city from the people that are targeting the inner city. And then you have the Metro Transit and all that stuff. The transportation system has its own police now. Like, they actually have a police section that is actually police.
Don't even get me started
on
them.
I don't know where they be. I have not seen these men for 4 months.
They've been around. And again, I'll keep it short with them. I got my own little thing against them, but apparently, and feel free to quote me on this, but last I checked when I spoke with one of them, apparently they don't even, if you were speeding on a residential block and they were parked on the residential block and you're not going anywhere near public transportation or any of the routes, they can't pull you over because their responsibility is public safety for the public transportation. If you were speeding on University Avenue, where one of the more predominant bus transit areas are and the train station is, they have every right to pull you over and hand you whatever ticket they want. If they want to yank you out your car and cuff you, they could. But if you were doing that one block north or south, on Suburban Street or something, they can't. What he told me is, you can't do nothing because you're not on a designated route that would infringe on
that would affect the transportation route.
So
That explains why they speed in the suburbs.
That's also why they'll be like tailgating other buses and stuff like that too.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they're just following them to see if they need anything, or maybe the bus driver could have hit a silent alarm,
Yeah.
or could have notified like, hey, this person's gonna get off, or this person might be a person
Right
of
when people are
interest,
starting
or-
to fight and they need to call the police, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like they're just the additional aid.
Yeah, so I've seen them before. I've also seen one of them pull out, like the bus driver was in the back of the safety officer's truck, going to meet the next driver so they can switch shifts, which is weird. I guess
Yeah.
they were like at the station with each other, and I think that other bus driver needed to go or something. I don't know
like,
what it
all right,
was.
I'm already going this round. Let me go.
Yeah, but the guy was telling me about that too. He's like, yeah, we kind of do a lot, but anyway, we got sidetracked there. But
Nah, man.
anyway, yeah, just be aware of tow truck drivers. They steal cars.
Yeah. With a smile on their face. And they'll tell you how they do it and how many times they do it a day.
Yeah, they'll say
No
we'll
shame
drop
in
it
that game.
They say we'll drop it for 4, but if you pick it up, it'll be 6. Make that make sense. Price difference on that one. I'm freaking believable. All right, I'm out.
All right, dude.